This is Boston's South Station Tower, a 51-story skyscraper built directly above one of the busiest train hubs in the entire United States. But it's just one piece of a much bigger transformation happening across the city. Because right now, Boston is also straightening a congested section of Interstate 90 and turning parts of it into public parks. It's replacing a historic racetrack with a 161-acre transit-connected neighborhood that could house 10,000 residents. And it's restoring passenger rail to the South Coast after 65 years, reconnecting entire cities like New Bedford and Fall River to Boston. So today, we're breaking down how Boston is reinventing transportation, housing, public space, and regional connectivity, all at the same time. Let's start right at the heart of it all, South Station. If you've ever stepped off a train here, you know it's chaos in motion. Thousands of commuters, multiple transit lines, buses, Amtrak, all converging under one roof. But look up now, and you won't just see sky, you'll see a tower. After decades of false starts, the South Station Tower finally opened on September 25, 2025. And this isn't just another high-rise for the skyline. It's a $1.5 billion statement that the most valuable real estate in a modern city isn't somewhere new. It's right above where people already move. Imagine this: offices, apartments, a hotel, retail, and even an 11th floor sky park, complete with a pool, all stacked above Boston's busiest transit hub. That's not a vanity project. That's efficiency engineered into every square foot. It's called transit-oriented development, and here it's been turned up to 11. The tower's not just vertical, it's connective. It expands the bus terminal by 50%, easing that notorious bottleneck where regional buses meet subways, commuter rail, and Amtrak. The idea is to blur the line between station and neighborhood, so you're not just passing through. You're arriving somewhere worth staying. And building something this complex over live train tracks? That's no small feat. It's a precision ballet of steel and concrete, all while trains below continue to run to the minute. Every column and beam had to weave between the chaos below without ever shutting the system down. But that's what makes it revolutionary. It's proof that stations can be places, not just portals. The bigger story here isn't just about one building. It's about proving a point, that the core of the network still matters. The tower is a vote of confidence in downtown Boston, a signal to other cities that you can build density, livability, and mobility into the same footprint. But the real test? Whether it feels public. Can a commuter walk in, grab a coffee, sit by the window, or meet a friend without feeling like they've crossed into a private tower? Because if Boston gets that balance right, if it feels like the city's new front door, then this isn't just a skyscraper. It's a prototype for the future of urban hubs everywhere. Now let's leave downtown and move a few miles west to a stretch of highway that every Boston driver knows too well. The Allston on 90 corridor, that tight, messy curve where ramps, rail yards, and the river all tangle into one of the city's worst bottlenecks. It's been a pain point for decades, but that's about to change. The Allston Multimodal Project is one of those rare, city-defining opportunities. It aims to completely straighten and simplify a 1.5-mile stretch of the Massachusetts Turnpike, cap sections with parks, and, for the first time in decades, reconnect neighborhoods to the Charles River. Think about that for a second. Parks and plazas literally built on top of a highway. What's now a noisy, polluted trench could become a green spine linking Allston and Brighton back to the riverfront. And at its core sits a new West Station, a commuter rail hub that would connect the western neighborhoods directly to Cambridge, downtown, and beyond, cutting car dependence dramatically. Now the story here hasn't been smooth sailing. In 2025, a major federal grant, part of the Reconnecting Communities initiative, was largely rescinded, dropping expected funding from tens of millions to about $8 million. That kind of loss could have sunk a project like this. But Massachusetts didn't back down. The state recalculated, restructured, and kept pushing forward because the payoff is generational. Straightening the Pike might sound like a highway project, but it's really an urban design project. A straighter alignment means less noise, less visual clutter, and room for parks, bike paths, and development. And that new West Station? It could redefine how thousands of people move across the river every day, especially students and workers who currently have no efficient transit options in this corridor. Of course, it's complicated. We're talking about rail relocation, stormwater engineering, flood planning, and a project cost that could land near $2 billion. But the upside is enormous. Fix the traffic choke point, create public space, connect the neighborhoods, and you don't just move cars faster, you rebuild community fabric that's been torn for half a century. If everything lines up, early construction could begin in 2026. It's slow, yes, but think about what's at stake. A new identity for Allston. For 50 years, that curve has defined the neighborhood. In the next decade, the neighborhood could finally define itself. And while the city's core and western flank are being reshaped, the east side is undergoing its own transformation, on land that once echoed with hooves. Welcome to Suffolk Downs, the former racetrack now turning into one of the largest redevelopment sites in the entire region. We're talking about 161 acres, more than twice the size of Back Bay. But this isn't a single megablock. It's a whole city-scale plan designed for modern, sustainable living. When it's fully built out, Suffolk Downs will add roughly 10,000 homes, 5 million square feet of commercial space, and 40 acres of parks and open space. That's not a neighborhood extension, that's a small city. The key here isn't just density, it's design. This isn't the next glassy luxury district like the Seaport. Suffolk Downs is aiming for something more balanced, an intentionally mixed, transit-connected, walkable community with housing across income levels, built around public space rather than parking lots. Phase 1, a development called Amaya, opened in mid-2024, and by spring 2025, it was already 93% leased. That's a strong signal that Boston's housing market is starving for exactly this kind of connected, car-light living. And by 2026, the new 1-acre pond park will open, anchoring the neighborhood's green network and giving residents that first tangible glimpse of what's coming. Plazas, bikeways, local retail, and eventually schools, a library, and everything that turns a cluster of buildings into a functioning urban ecosystem. What's especially interesting about Suffolk Downs is how carefully it's navigating the constraints of its location. It sits right along the Blue Line, perfect for transit, but also under Logan Airport's flight paths. That means careful attention to building heights, noise mitigation, and even wind design. It's one of those rare developments where the challenge of the site actually shaped the identity of the project. And the jobs impact? Massive. Tens of thousands of construction jobs, plus permanent positions once the offices, shops, and public spaces are built. Add in the tax revenue, which will help fund infrastructure and public services. And you've got a project that's not just filling land, it's fueling the region. Still, there are hurdles. 2 municipalities share oversight, and the MBTA, Boston's aging transit system, will need serious upgrades to handle new demand. But the point is, it's happening. Slowly, visibly, piece by piece. If the Seaport showed how fast Boston could grow, Suffolk Downs is designed to show how well it can grow, thoughtfully, inclusively, and with an eye towards sustainability. And that theme, reconnecting, rebuilding, rethinking, runs straight into the next chapter of this story. Because outside the city, in places like New Bedford and Fall River, a project decades in the making finally became real. On March 24, 2025, the first trains of South Coast Rail Phase 1 rolled out, restoring passenger service between Boston and the South Coast for the first time in 65 years. That's not just an infrastructure milestone, it's a reconnection of opportunity. The project includes 37 miles of new track work, 6 new stations, and 2 layover facilities. It's the kind of unglamorous but transformative work that changes lives, not in renderings, but in routines. Because what does it actually mean for people? It means commutes you can finally plan, students who can reach campuses without a car, nurses who can take early shifts reliably, families who can say yes to jobs they used to turn down because the drive was unpredictable. And it's not just one way. For once, the benefits flow both directions, with Boston residents heading south for weekends on the waterfront, tourism driven by trains instead of traffic. Phase 1 runs on diesel locomotives for now, but Phase 2, an electrified alignment through Stoughton, is already in planning. It promises faster, quieter, more frequent service and lower emissions. The funding will take time, but the momentum is finally real. This project took decades, literally, of advocacy, revisions, and political tug-of-war. But today, it's tangible. You can stand on a platform in New Bedford, hear that whistle, and know that connection to Boston isn't just theoretical anymore. It's a ride you can take tonight. For the South Coast, it's a breakthrough. For Boston, it's a proof of concept that reconnecting your region multiplies every investment you make at the core. And that's the thread that ties everything together, from the tower over South Station to the Pike realignment, from the new neighborhood at Suffolk Downs to the revived rail line down south. Boston's not building for the sake of building. It's building strategically, strengthening the core and reconnecting the region. It's about maximizing what's already here, the stations, the corridors, the communities, and linking them together into something bigger than the sum of their parts. Because when you build up where people already move and reach out to places long left off the map, something powerful happens. The city starts to move faster, feel closer, and work better. That's what makes Boston's transformation so fascinating. It's not the biggest city in America, but it might just be one of the smartest in how it's growing. Every project, from the tower above the trains to the racetrack-turned neighborhood, is testing a different way to adapt an old city for a new century. And if it all works, Boston could become the blueprint for dozens of other historic cities facing the same challenge: how to modernize without erasing what made them great in the first place. So, which project catches your imagination the most? The skyscraper built on live train tracks, the highway turned greenway, the racetrack reborn as a city, or the rail line resurrected after half a century? Let us know in the comments which transformation you'd want to see in your city. And if you're curious about what happens next, especially with the Alston Pike plan and Suffolk Downs build-out, make sure you subscribe and stay tuned, because the next chapter in Boston's evolution, it's already on the calendar.